Good evening, everybody, and welcome to day one of week 5 of ALYFE Connect, our very first virtual-only event brought to you exclusively by ALYFE Group. We are delighted to welcome this evening our second magician of the event, of the show, to wow us with some tricks and hopefully make those Monday blues disappear. From Singapore, our special guest, Ming is an award-winning international magician, the first runner-up of Singapore's first street magic competition, and a participant in Asia's biggest TV magic competition, the Grandmaster Asia. In Singapore, Ming has been featured all over the media and has carved out quite a reputation for himself as the VIP magician, having performed for such illustrious international visiting stars as footballers Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville. As a performer, he has established himself as one of the fastest rising stars in Singapore and is highly sought after for big corporate events. Now, he is going to be sharing with us his career journey, his experiences so far, both internationally and domestically, as well as showing us a few tricks. But a magician never reveals his secrets, so of course, prepare to be amazed. Now, help me please welcome Mr. Ming Da. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, Jacob.
How are you doing? Hi, good evening, Ming. Thank you for joining us all the way from Singapore. How are you doing down there?
Everything is okay. We are all called to stay at home for now, so for the safety of everyone during this time.
Yeah, naturally. Well, we know how that feels up here too, and I think it turns out I think Malaysia and Singapore are due to finish the movement restriction period at about the same time. The 9th of June. Am I right?
I was end on the 2nd of June.
2nd of June. Oh, okay. Well, you've got a week ahead of us then. We just had ours extended.
Ooh,
anyway, but you're right. But as you rightly point out, it is for the safety and for the for the health first and foremost, which is the main priority, of course, of ourselves and our friends and families. So, and shout out, as we always like to do, shout out, of course, to the frontliners who are doing and continue to do an amazing job. So, thank you all. To anybody who knows anyone on the front lines or is indeed working on the front lines themselves, we thank you. So Ming, how has this time been for you in terms of, I mean, obviously the events industry itself has taken a bit of a hit, I think it's fair to say, but I know that you've been sort of creatively pivoting, shall we say, in terms of your act and your entertainment. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to during this lockdown period and how you found the restriction.
Yeah. So at the start of all this, when it first kicked in and, we all realized that something was not right, it was probably around February and March, where things started getting a bit more serious and events started getting cancelled one by one. And at the start, it was very scary, actually. So it took me a while to think of, what do I do during this time? Because basically at the start, there was nothing going on. Everybody was like pretty much a waiting game, like how long will this last, And eventually I decided to do some online shows, and these are what I call virtual magic shows, where it's done over Zoom, and we can interact through the screen, and the magic happens through the screen. And it's a magic show. Everything is the same except that you are not here with me, and we can't be physically together.
But it's very interesting. But you say it's very interactive. So it's not just you performing a trick on the camera. It's you're engaging with the audience. You're going back and forth.
There are some parts of it where, for example, I'll tell them to prepare some stuff like cards, and then they'll follow along some instructions, and the magic happens in their hands as well. So there are parts of the show where it's like that.
That's it. Well, I think we've already got one question from the audience, and they're asking, "Are you going to perform some magic for us today?" Well, yeah, indeed, we hope so. Maybe this is even a little chance for you to show off, give us a little teaser, a little taster of this virtual magic that you've come up with.
I'm sure I will be showing some magic today. Maybe we'll wait for a bit more people to come in, and then I'll show you guys something.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm a little bit nervous, I must admit. We did have a magician on previously, Andrew Lee. I think he's a friend of yours. Who I was the willing victim. I mean, I guess I'm the only one here, of course, but I was the willing victim in one of his tricks. And honestly, he had me baffled. He had me really, really baffled, and of course, very, very impressed, but also slightly scared in terms of what it was able to do, and what it was very, very impressive stuff. Well, I think that's amazing, Ming, that you've been able to use this time, not just creatively for yourself, but also you've been able to use it for your brand, for your business. You know, you've not just it's not just been a time for you to go back and say work on a couple of new tricks or whatever. Like you've actually managed to build an entirely new business model out of it.
At the same time, I'm also working on, when all this is over, whether is it revamping my show and preparing for new things to put in to the show. I'm doing that as well. But at the same time, this virtual show was something that started off like an experiment. It started off like something like, okay, maybe let's try and see whether it will work. And I tried it a few times with friends first. And then after a while, I realized that, this is something that could work. And then that's where I put more things together. And then we did put it out as an actual show for people to vote. Yeah.
Interesting, amazing. And so, I mean, we'll delve a little bit into your background and into your story, because I know you have a very interesting one to tell, not just within Singapore, where of course you are one of the leading magicians on the circuit, but also like internationally, you've had a fairly well, you've been busy. Let's put it that way. You've had a fairly illustrious career abroad as well. I think you were the youngest Singaporean magician to tour the United States, which is something which something I'd be very interested.
2013 or 2014. I can't remember now. That I was younger then. I was younger then. Yeah.
Something, yeah, weren't we all? I mean, that was 6 years ago now, which is quite scary actually thinking about it. It feels as if it was only yesterday, but definitely something I'm interested in hearing more about. But before we get to all that, before we sort of delve deep into your history, Ming, tell us a little bit about who you are as a magician today. Like, what is your main forte, if you like? What is your strength? What is your, I mean, do you specialize in any particular area of magic? Do you prefer one kind of performance or stage show over another? Like, what is it that you really will love to do with your craft these days?
So in Singapore, I mainly perform for a corporate audience, whether is it a corporate dinner and dance, meetings, trade shows. That is mainly my audience, most of my audience that I perform for. And outside of the country though, when I travel, I perform in theaters, big or small, both for festivals and also for my touring shows. So that is mainly what I do. And in terms of the magic that I do both stage magic and close-up magic. So for close-up, of course, I like cards, and that is something that I love. I enjoy practicing and performing myself as well.
Interesting. Okay. And is this? I mean, has the sleight of hand thing always been like? Was that the reason you got into, say, magic in the first place? If you like what is the?
How did I get into magic? Was when I was in secondary school. I saw David Blaine's TV special, Street Magic.
Right? Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, he was big. He was big in the UK, especially.
That magic was like David Copperfield, right? The bigger stuff, the stage illusions. That was magic before David Blaine was introducing street magic, right? Which actually today we know it as close-up magic, right? So after seeing him did his TV special, I thought to myself that, oh, he's doing magic with things that I can find easily at home, like coins, cards, and everyday items. And that got me interested in wanting to learn magic. And so I went into it, and it started as a hobby, a serious hobby, eventually a passion, and something that right now I do really as a career. Yeah.
Yeah, and very well as a career too, I think it must be said. I mean, you've been a very busy guy indeed. You know what's very funny, Ming? I do want to bring up as soon as you started answering that question, we had a question from the audience on Facebook, which I'd love to share, because it's you named not one but both of these guys in your answer just now without being prompted. So Mr. Forrest Vince Chan is asking whether you're more of a David Copperfield or a David Blaine magician fan. So, I mean, you touched on them both in your answer.
I'm more of a David Blaine kind of magician because I started out there. And so there are some shades of that I do have when I perform. I started off with close-up magic. Of course, eventually, right now, I do stage shows as well. I do stage shows for events as well. But I would say I'm more of a David Blaine because I don't really do large illusions. So cutting people in half, making people not like Andrew Lee. Andrew Lee does that. Andrew Lee does that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's his thing. But it's at the same time. So I can obviously definitely appreciate like where the original inspiration come from. But at the same time, like even people who have not been exposed to magic at all still know who David Copperfield is. They've still heard of him in some degree. Did he, like, were you aware of his presence as a magician before you got into it yourself? Like, do you see what I'm getting at? Like, it must have been something that you were aware of, and like must have been something.
When I was young, I remember watching his TV specials, which I think comes every once a year or every few years, making the Statue of Liberty disappear, walking through the Great Wall of China, and all this big illusion. I do remember and his flying illusion where he basically just flew around the theater and out of it. Yeah, those are things that I remember of David Copperfield. And when I grew up, eventually I did go to Vegas to watch his show, which is amazing.
Oh, you did? Is that the one at Caesar's Palace? Is that where he is his resident? Yeah, no, yeah. That guy.
It's at the MGM, yeah.
Oh, the MGM. He's not, is he? Or is he? Yeah. Does he still perform?
Yeah, he still performs.
He still performs. Okay, I don't know why I just assumed that wasn't the case.
No, David Copperfield performs everything.
Oh wow. Oh.
Yeah, he does 3 shows a day in the MGM.
I guess I just assumed he's been around for so long. This was like a while ago. I guess I thought he'd been around for so long that he must have retired by now, because it feels as if people have been talking about him for years now, years and years.
Yeah.
So, and what kind of, so this, for you then, Mr. Ming, so like, but how, in terms of like where you started out, I mean, I don't know much about, I don't know much about the industry in general, I must admit, but I certainly don't know much about the industry in this part of the world, in Malaysia and Singapore. And so for a young magician like yourself, who's just starting out, watching David Blaine, who's like a UK magician, and obviously David Copperfield is like the American guy, what is it like for you, like growing up in an environment where maybe not as much of this stuff is as common? Or maybe I'm wrong. Is it as common?
It's, at my time, it wasn't common. I think magic now in Singapore is more vibrant than it used to be. When I started out, I really didn't know many people that actually did magic. I'm not familiar with the community, so I started learning basically by myself. And it was only by visiting magic shops where you meet people that go to the magic shops as well, and they were, oh, okay, he does magic as well. And sometimes you meet these people, you make friends, and then eventually you realize, oh, there's a community out there. And then that's how I got to know more magicians in Singapore.
One of your, I'm not sure if he's a fellow magician, but one of your fans is here, at least it sounds like, Mr. Ali. So shout out to Ali, or Mrs. Ali. So I saw the guy before the girl in the profile pic. Hi, Ali. Sorry, that's her. She says you're the best. I'm sure she's not incorrect. And I think, shout out from Zichun too. I'm not. And Zichun says that she loves your singing. I'm not sure. Like, is singing a part of your act as well?
No. I just it's my hobby. It's not anything.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me the karaoke. Zichun always likes to diss me. This
is your karaoke buddy, I'm sure. All right, interesting. So I would love to see something. I would love to see a little taster, at least, of what you have to show for us tonight. What are you going to open with? What are you going to wow us with on this? At least it's raining in KL.
I'll show you something simple but visual enough for this medium, because right now in Singapore and Malaysia we can't travel, and I realized that there's one way where we can actually travel around, which is by currency. So for that, you'll need some money, and that's US dollar note. So if I were to go to America, I would need that, right? But if I were to travel to other countries, it wouldn't be so helpful. For example, if I were to go to Australia, I would need like a Australian note. If I were to go to Europe, I would need a 20 euro. Japan, that's 100 yen. And that's a Brazilian peso as well. But of course, right now we're all staying at home, and me, I'm in Singapore. So for me, all I need is just to have a $50 Singapore note.
That's very, very impressive. Yeah, I got to give you a round of applause for that one. Very good. I mean, that must come in very, very handy. That must come in very, very handy when you travel. I mean, you're just like a walking ATM. I guess you don't need a money changer. You don't need to go to the bank. You just like whip it out of. Yeah, you just whip it out of thin air. You must save a lot of money on your bills, Ming. It must be easy to pay over the counter.
I try.
That's amazing. You try. That's amazing. And so I'm curious a little bit about the corporate gigs. What do you find is? I mean, there are many different ways of doing this, of course, because any and every and all kind of magic, will impress somebody, if that makes sense. But like, when you're playing corporate, you've got to play the room, you've got to play to an audience, you've got to like really put on a show. You're not just like impressing one person with one card trick. You've really got to do the showmanship angle of it. Like, what do you find is like the key to a really good corporate gig for you, like for you to pull off, or for you to like get invited back? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it you're really looking to achieve? How do you really like wow the audience in that kind of performance?
So you need to, this is what I realized, that when performing for a corporate audience, you need to leave them with something that connects them with the magic. So it can be something like their brand or their logo, or something that you leave with them, that you can incorporate into the magic and maybe leave it to them as a souvenir. And they will, they will look at it, and next time they remember it. Oh, he did this trick, for example, and then whatever happened, and then our company's staff ended up in this. So it's an impossible object and souvenir for them. So that is one way that I do it. Yeah. And another way is, of course, to speak their language. Like, for example, if you are performing for the banking or finance crowd, you need to do your research. You need to do know the background a bit. You need not go into in depth, but you need to know a bit so that you are able to speak their language. Yeah.
Sure. Just so you can relate a bit. Well, I bet that they love that money trick, though. I bet like everyone's standing and applauding when you show them the changing money trick when you're working at a finance gig. They must love that. I can, it's almost. I see what you mean exactly about the point about the brand and connecting to the game. Maybe you can make some bosses disappear. I'm sure some employees would stand up and applaud that.
I mean, usually they ask to make.
Maybe that can be like your big finale, like. Or maybe you could cut the boss in half. I'm sure people. Cut the CEO in half. I think that would go down an absolute treat. So what is I mean, you've been in a couple when it comes to the media in Singapore, of course, like all the way back in like 2009, wasn't it? Like that was your first kind of TV competition, I think, or the first like street magic competition you were featured in.
Okay, so 2009 was actually my first competition. It wasn't a very big competition, but it was a street magic competition in Singapore, right? And it was also my first competition. I was a nobody. And I went in not knowing anybody in the magic community. So that was also where I first meet a lot of my friends right now, the magicians that I know right now, and seniors in the craft. Yeah, so I entered that, and I was lucky enough to got second place in that competition.
Oh wow, amazing! And then see, but you must have that experience wasn't just. I mean, it wasn't just about coming first runner-up, but like you said, you were able to meet for the first time so many new people like within that community, and make so many new connections. And I mean, did you find? I mean, within the Singaporean community or within the local community, do you have like mentors? Do you have guys you look up to and inspire, or inspired by? Like, was that like a real changing point in your career when you went to this first competition?
So after that, it opened my eye up to the number of magicians that we have here, and because of that competition, I also got a free 1-year membership to the Singapore Magic Club. So it's called IBM. So it's the International Brotherhood of Magicians, Singapore branch. And
yeah,
I went in as a member because I got a free membership for 1 year, and yeah, it was great because every month we get to meet and discuss magic, share some tricks, and it was a very good experience. Yeah.
nice. So it sounds very, very cool, very mysterious, very prestigious. The International Brotherhood of Magicians. It sounds quite funky. I quite like that. Quite jealous, actually. Not that I'll ever come anywhere close to it, but it sounds kind of that sounds like an appropriate title for something as mysterious, I guess, and as interesting and as curious as you do. But so what would your advice be, Ming, to any young magician? And again, I guess this is focused more on Singapore, let's say, because of your local community and whatnot. I mean, you said that you were surprised. You said that first of all, back in the day, there wasn't much of a scene in Singapore or this part of the world. Now, increasingly, there is, and especially when you went for this competition in 2009, you were surprised to see just how many there were. And I'm sure since then there have been, the scene has grown and grown and grown. So to a young magician, say, now maybe they're 15, 16, and they're just starting out and they really want to start thinking about performing professionally and making a name for themselves, what would your advice be to a young magician?
So my advice to young magicians who want to start out a career path, possibly as a full-time professional, is this. It's not just about the magic. It's not just about you. You got to realize that, at the end of the day, your performance of magic is for your audience. It's not about being clever with your hands, being fast with your hands, being good with your techniques. Magic is supposed to be shared with your audience. Okay, so and to touch them, whether is it to make them laugh, make them amazed, or make them scared, a different effect will have a different emotional response from the audience. So you need to remember that it is about the audience, not so much about you. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think then on that note, that's a perfect time then to show the audience a little something else. I think it's about time to ask you to stop talking about you for a brief second, and show the audience what you've got.
All right, Jacob, I need you to help me, okay?
Well, okay. I did this last time when I was freaked out, but all right, bring it on.
Now, I have some matches over here. Okay. Now let's just imagine this. Okay. Have you heard of a saying, a house of cards?
I have. Yeah, I've heard of the Netflix series, A House of Cards.
Right. So we are gonna imaginarily burn down this house of cards. Okay, and we're gonna do it part by part. So in a deck of cards, we have the number cards, and we also have the picture cards. Okay. I'm going to strike the first match, and we are going to burn some cards. Do you want to burn the number cards, or do you want to burn the picture card?
I'm going to start with a number card.
Okay, so we'll burn all the number cards, and they burn away. Okay, now we are left with the picture cards.
All of them.
So the picture cards, we have the jacks, we have the kings, we have the queens. Now, which do you want to burn? Do you want to burn the males, the jacks and the kings, or do you want to burn the females?
Oh God, when you put it that way, I'm gonna burn the females.
Burn the females. Okay, I'll take down the other card. We are burning the females right now. Okay, we are left with so the females will means the queens. Okay, queen of clubs, queen of hearts, queen of diamonds, queen of spades. Okay. Now we are burning the queens. Okay. So they are
Yeah.
all burning right now slowly. But out of this queen, I will need you to save one of them. Now, which queen do you want to save out of the flames?
I'm going to save the queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs. Interesting.
Queen
So
of
I like
clubs.
the last match. And we burn the queen of hearts. We burn the queen of diamonds away. We burn the queen of spades away. Okay, they all crumble into ashes. And the queen of clubs,
Oh,
I take it and save her out of the flames.
thank you.
Interesting enough, because right now, after burning the last match, I'm left with one card in the box. And you said, what was the card that you said?
I chose to save the queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs. And indeed, the card that's left over, it is the queen of clubs.
Oh. Oh my god! I thought I was freaked out when Andrew did something. That's. I can even see the crease marks in the card. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, you look
That
at
is
the
quite
burn
something.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, you saved her. You saved her. That she was burning. Oh my god, that is quite something. That is quite something. You know what? I've always been one of my best friends at school. He was really into magic, and he was the kind of guy. He would never do his homework, but instead he would sit in his room and learn how to solve a Rubik's cube in less than a minute. You know, he was one of those guys, and he learned a few sleight of hand tricks and everything. And you know, I was always so desperate to learn how he did it, and just trying to get him to tell me. And of course, he wouldn't. He was like, "No, no, you know, I've spent so long practicing this. Like, this is part of the illusion." I was like, "Okay," but now, you know what? I'm like, I I'm better off being amazed by it. I should have learned. I really should have learned. I know that now. But also, like, what I guess what I'm saying, I'm I'm happier almost not knowing, because it still baffles me every time, and I'm quite happy being baffled. Like, it's honestly astounding to me. So I'm happy being the kid at Disney. You know, like, I'm like, show me the magic. I don't like, keep the magic going. Rather, I don't care about it. But oh, that's so. Is this must be like, is this part of your virtual routine that you're doing at the minute? Like,
Yes,
is this the kind of this is the kind of interaction that you're referring to?
These are the kinds of things that I perform for my virtual show as well. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's amazing. That's amazing. And by the way, guys, anybody wanting to find out more about those, we're going to be sending out a survey in the comments beneath the Facebook video after the session is over. But in the meantime, for anybody who's not following Ming on Instagram, give him a shout out, give him a follow, give him a like or two below, because I think from there they'll be able to learn a little bit more about your performances, your routines, like your offering and whatnot. So for anybody who hasn't yet, Ming's below. Ming's Instagram is below, so check that out. But that is really, really quite something. So, what to you, I mean, what is your, if this is even a question that you can answer, because I'm sure it's quite tough, but like, what is your favorite kind of magic to perform? I know you can do it a lot, of course, but what is your like favorite routine or favorite act, I guess, to throw? What is it that you've always really enjoyed amazing people with?
That is a tough question. It's
yeah, I thought it might be.
It's so hard. I mean, there are tricks that I have been performing for 10 years now, when I first started out doing, and I am still doing them. I have improved them along the way, whether it's the pacing, the timing, the presentation. And I really can't say that I have one thing that I would say is a favorite trick. Everything that I perform, I choose for a reason, and they are all my babies.
Yeah, I bet when of course, when you spend so much time just perfecting them and familiarizing yourself with them, I can only imagine the bond, for lack of a better phrase, but you know what I mean, the bond that you must form with these tricks. No wonder that they are your babies. I'm sure this is your life's work, quite literally. So that must be very interesting. We have a good question here from Forrest again, actually, who asked this earlier. So on a similar note, what's the most difficult or dangerous trick that you've ever had to pull off, that you've ever had to master?
So dangerous trick. I used to do a trick where I swallow a piece of thread and it comes out of my eye.
Huh.
I have
Okay.
not done it for a long time. I only do it usually for Halloween, or certain occasions that are suitable to do such tricks. And yeah, even though
That makes sense.
yeah, it's quite dangerous. And what other things that are dangerous that I've done will include like a routine that you have 5 strings, and one of the strings is attached to a fish hook,
Ooh,
and the
I
audience
don't like
can't
the sound of
see
this.
which one is it. Okay, and
Oh
you
my
put it in
god.
your mouth, and then you just tell them, pick one of the string, and they pull it, and then the last one that's remaining is the one with the fish hook. So it's like a Russian
Mm,
roulette, right? Yeah,
I don't.
that is
Oh,
also quite dangerous.
yeah.
But
Yeah. As soon as you mention fish hook, it sounds pretty dangerous.
I
Oh
have
my.
over the years I have realized that uh, I don't enjoy it as much as I used to anymore. When you're younger, that daring, that edgy kind of performance,
Yeah.
will be something that attracts you because that's the thrill of it. But right now, I don't do it as often anymore, unless, like I said, occasions like
Mm.
Halloween or yeah, or when
No,
they ask
I
for it.
think that there aren't many people in the world, apart magicians aside, and maybe a couple of other interesting types, who would say something like, "Yeah, I do a fish hook trick, but I don't enjoy it as much as I used to." Like the thought of ever enjoying a fish hook trick is something that's completely alien to me. But then I guess that's why you're the performer and I'm not.
Looking
But
back into the history of magic, you will see that danger
mm,
has always been an element um, that is tied together with magic as an art. For example, Houdini did his escapes as
oh yeah, of
dangerous
course.
of stunts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
He was chained. He
he's
was underwater.
escaping.
He was chained up. Yeah,
Yeah, and even if you look at David Blaine, right? David Blaine also does big stunts that frozen in ice, standing on top
yeah.
of a tall tower for many, many days, holding his breath underwater. These are all, these are all things that has been in magic for a long time.
I think and you're absolutely right. I think sword, even like sword swallowing, fire breathing, all of these things. I think it's a very interesting line that things walk between. It's because it becomes almost like supernatural in the sense that your body is doing or what's perceived to be doing superhuman things,
Yeah,
like being cased in ice, or I think David Blaine did the thing where he was suspended in a glass box for 40 days over, so it crosses a line almost where it becomes like quite literally magic insofar as what people think the human body is supposed to be capable of. So you're right, danger has always been a huge factor in that, which I think is fascinating because I think it elicits a sense of panic and amazement in the audience. Like this is that primal sense of response and danger and fear, but you can't
yeah,
look away. It's weird. It's like a perfect storm of fascination. But I'm always very intrigued by it. I think also whether it's like sleight of hand or whether it's like huge illusionist, I'm just like I quite enjoy being swept away by the inexplicable nature of it all. I'm like I said, I'm a kid at Disney. It's amazing. But talking of Disney, by the way, Ming, tell us about a little bit about your time in the States, because obviously, I mean, would it be fair to say, especially looking at the likes of Vegas and the performances they have there, would it be fair to say that America is maybe not the birthplace of, but it's like it's the I don't know, the Garden of Eden as far as modern magic is concerned, as far as like the attention and the pageantry and everything that's thrown towards magic out there. That must have been an amazing experience for you as a performer from this part of the world.
yeah. I mean, to be able to go to America and to perform for them, as a Singaporean, is definitely something that was eye-opening because the crowd there is very different. The emotions that they express, the way they express their emotions is very different from here as well. Here, sometimes you get the polite golf clap, but then there they will be, they will be very exaggerated, very animated in their expressions. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's just
definitely
when you
something different.
that's just when you
And
introduce
also,
yourself, let alone
yeah,
perform a
and also
trick.
as a magician, when I go to America, uh, growing up, a lot of the tricks that we learn, for example, the magic that we learn them from, let's say, books or videos, DVDs, and stuff like that. And this came from America, a lot of them. And so when we go there, and sometimes get to meet some of these magicians that were, for example, the authors of the book that we wrote, or the person on the video that we watched that did this trick. Very inspiring. Very inspiring to see them in person, to talk to them, get to know them. And what a privilege, I mean, to do that.
I bet. I mean, you're literally dreams coming true, I suppose, because it must have been a world that you could have only imagined when you were just starting out, going into these magic shops in Singapore, which I like to think were kind of like behind these dark, dusty alleys, and you would like knock 3 times at the door, and it's all very secret, that kind of thing. And you get this book, and then all of a sudden, well, it's not all of a sudden because it's after years of hard work, but before you know it, you find yourself in in America doing this performance tour, which I kind of, and there was quite a few cities too, right? You were busy in America.
Yes. So I've been to America. So I was supposed to go again, maybe end of this year, but right now everything is on hold. So I've been to America twice, and both times I did a bit of a tour among maybe 5 to 6 cities. Yeah. So and where I perform at would be like small theaters. So this would be because in America their theater culture is quite strong, unlike in Singapore where it's quite hard to book theaters and to present your own show because it's very expensive. It's very expensive here compared to to there. And so they also have, in America, they have like long running shows. So shows that run every month and has been running for maybe 10 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like
I go there and perform as a guest performer on a show.
Amazing.
And in some places I go there and perform my own show. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And I mean, but it's not just America. You also had some experience in Europe as well, which I think might have been a little bit, I mean, very different, but also maybe quite similar. Like as you just mentioned, with the residencies and the programs they have out there. It's the same in London, where I'm from. The same show runs on the West End. Not necessarily magic; it's more like musical. But the same show runs on the West End for like 20 years. I think Cats has been going for 25. It's one of these like insane kind of cultural legacies that is just ongoing, which must have been very interesting to be a part of in America. But also you toured in Europe too. So what was that like?
That was interesting because that was before Brexit. That was before Brexit. Yeah. So I did go to UK and perform in Bristol, in London, and then Amsterdam, Sweden. Yeah.
Oh, Sweden. Interesting.
Yeah. So these are places that I've been to. Now, funny enough, I'm supposed to be going back to Europe in June. I actually already bought my tickets and had my tour planned out. But right now it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna push it to maybe next year. Yeah, but I was looking forward to it because the last time I was in Europe was 4 years ago. Yeah.
Hey, me too. Actually, come to think of it, that's when I left. That's when I left Europe. That's when I left the UK to come back to Malaysia. So, yeah, you and me both. Ming, I can't wait to make it back, man. Myself. All right. Just by the way, just a very quick one for the audience at home, and for us, well, I guess for us too here. We've got about 15 minutes left of the session or so. So I'd like to give the audience a little bit of time for some Q&A at the end of the session. So guys, if you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below, either the YouTube or the Facebook videos, and we'll pick them up there. So we can leave a bit of time at the end for that. But I definitely want to squeeze at least one more trick out of you, Ming, before you have to leave us tonight. So I'm going to hand over to you to show us a little something.
Do you want to see it now?
I'd love to. Like, give the audience a chance to think about some questions, but in the meantime, you just amaze us.
Right, good. So for this, let me see. I'm gonna bring the camera a bit down like that. So I got some cards over here. These are cards with photographs on them. Okay, can you see? These are basically stock photographs. Okay, that you can find on maybe Flickr or stuff like that. Okay. Jacob, I'll need you to pick one of them, but since you can't actually reach here and pick a card, I'm going to go through the cards and I need you to pick and just say stop wherever you want to, okay? Can you do that?
All right, yeah.
Say wherever you want to. Maybe
I was waiting. The end all went at once. Okay, one more time. Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
It's good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show you the card and I'm going to look away because if I look at the camera, I can see the card. Okay. Just remember roughly what the picture is depicting.
Okay. Hold it real close to the camera. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
Got it? Okay.
I can see it.
Now I'm going to put it back into the cards. Right there. Okay. And I'm going to bring the camera down. So you can see my hand doesn't leave. The cards doesn't leave the fingers. Right?
Okay.
Okay, here's what's going to happen, Jacob. I'm going to take out a few cards, okay, that I think your card might be among them. If you see your card, don't say it out yet, okay?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be good. This. And, yeah, okay, with this one. Maybe two more. Fine. Okay, let's just go with this two. Okay, now Jacob, out of these five cards, I think one of them is your card. Okay, but don't say it out yet. I'm going to show you one by one. Okay, and I'm gonna try to sense through the screen whether one card in particular is yours. Okay, starting with this. No. Wait. Okay. No, I don't think. Maybe this one. Okay, now Jacob. Tell me, is your card among these cards?
Yes.
Okay, good. That means that I'm on the right track. So your card is one of these five cards over here, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now imagine if I take your card out of here and I leave it right here in mid-air. Imagine it's right here, okay? Invisible. That would mean that right now, we're left with only 4 cards. And I believe this is not your card. This is not your card. This is not your card as well. And this is not your card, am I right?
Yes, you are correct.
Your card is gone, am I right?
My card is gone. Yep, I can no longer
see it. Right here in mid-air, it's invisible. If I take it, I turn it the other way around and I throw it in the middle of the deck. That will explain why right here in the middle of the deck, there's one card that's facing a different direction. And I believe that this is your card.
Wow.
No, but Jacob, that is not all. Because you see,
it's not all right. I'm putting you back.
I pick all these cards for a reason because I believe that they tell me so much more about you and today other than just about your card. Because if I just put them out, maybe you will see something
Wow.
that jumps to you.
Oh my. Now that is something.
And that is
And
the trick. Yes.
wow. Andy Lim, Mr. ALYFE, I suppose if you're watching that, I hope you got a screenshot because that was really something. ALYFE group, there you go, represent. What an amazing
ALYFE.
trick that is. ALYFE group. That is something. That is really something. I commend that. I'd stand up, but I'm in my interviewer's chair, so I can't.
Okay.
I'd stand up, but like the camera angle isn't great for where I am. But I'll just sit and give you a little round of applause instead. Oh, mate, that's really, really amazing. So I'm kind of curious as to what is next for you in the sense of, we are all very much looking forward to things getting back to. I don't want to be all down, doom and gloom about it, but things will take a while to get back to normal. Let's just put it that way, especially when it comes to events and entertainment and shows and gigs and all of these different things. But it sounds as if you've done amazingly well to pivot and to innovate and to create during this time of restriction, shall we say? Is this? And you found some success for that. It sounds like. Is it something that you're really going to pursue or really going to like keep pushing with when
Yes.
things are lifted slightly, or can you not wait to get back on stage?
I believe that virtual shows are here to stay. They might, they might dwindle down a bit when things get normal and, things are steadily going well. But, once something goes wrong again, which you never know it might happen, everything will come up again, and all these virtual shows will be back online and people will be asking for it. So I am ready for it. And other than what I am doing already now, I'm actually planning a few steps beyond that. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I know a magician never reveals his secrets, so I won't ask you to give it too much away. But I'm sure we're all very much looking forward to seeing just what that is. And I think you're right, and I think this will be obviously not just magic, but virtual entertainment will be very much a part of the new normal. So I think it will be very interesting to see how new technologies and new functions, new platforms, whatever they might be, are able to support that effort, and how. And something actually I don't know much about. Maybe you have experience with this. Maybe people on the circuit who are doing it. But when it comes to say technology like AR or virtual reality or augmented reality, is there much happening with that on the magic scene? Because that must be like actually a pretty interesting tool to play around with if you know what to do with it. Is that something which is happening?
Yeah. There are some magicians out there that are experimenting magic with AR, VR. I think currently not as many because it's still an expensive technology to acquire if you want to build a show around it. But I think eventually this will be something that is the future. Technology, any technology that is advanced and can be incorporated into the magic will be something that magicians pursue. It is just a matter of time.
Yeah, I bet. It's always. The possibilities are limitless almost, and combined with literal it's almost like there's like literal magic meets technological magic. You know what I mean? So I think being able to combine the two is a very, very interesting possibility, and I think the potential is there. It's really, really amazing.
With technology-based magic, the challenge is always how to make the magic as strong and impressive as the technology itself.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because in many ways, the tech is outstripped. The tech is the magic itself. So I see your point. That's a very good point. So we've just had a very good question here from Mr. Andy Lim, as it were, who's wondering actually if part of the next step, maybe this is part of phase 3, phase 2, well beyond the immediate next step, but longer term planning. Are you thinking about teaching someday? Do you plan on being an instructor or a teacher, classes for beginners, that sort of thing?
I am already conducting online magic classes
Oh,
on a
yeah.
private one-on-one basis. I am already
Oh,
doing so. Yeah.
okay,
It is
cool.
not something that I had publicized widely, but I do offer online lessons to some of my old clients or some of the, some people that are at home right now and want to learn a new skill. They have actually reached out to me and say, "Oh, do you teach magic? Do you do online lessons?" And I have
Mm.
said, "Yes, I offer it to them." And I also had published a book recently, a small booklet of simple magic tricks that everyone can pick up and can learn just by reading, and you can
Oh,
do it
okay.
with simple things that you can find at home, like cards, coins, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I do have that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and where could we look if we wanted to find a little bit more about this book, for example? Could we visit your
So
website? Is it on your?
for this book, it is not on my website because yeah, I it's not intended to put it on the shelves of bookshops, bookstores, and
Yeah, yeah.
sell. It's basically also giving back to people that have helped me or booked me in the past, like my past clients. I offer this to them as like a giving back. Okay, so where you can find the link to get it will be on my Instagram. I believe it's on my bio.
Ah,
It's on my bio. That's the link right there. So if you go
there
to
we
my
go.
Instagram,
Okay,
you should be able to find it.
that's it. Okay, so yeah, for more information, I mean, I won't push the one-to-one coaching too hard because, but nevertheless, it's worth mentioning. But more importantly, if you guys want to pick up what sounds like a very useful resource and it's free, right? You just mentioned, which is people always like free stuff. So to pick that up,
Oh, not
do
free.
visit Ming.
It's not free. It's
Oh, it's not.
$16.
Oh, mine.
It's not
Oh,
$16.
no, that's
Yeah,
okay.
it's $16. And the form will be a Google Doc, and basically you fill in, and I will mail you the book. Yeah.
Ah, okay, nice. Well, I think I'm afraid I can't show their username because they need to give the platform access. But nevertheless, they want to learn. So, for whichever Facebook user, I'm afraid I can't address you by name. But for whoever you are out there, do visit Ming's Instagram down below. The link is in the bio. Get in touch with Ming, and he will send you the book
And
for
of course,
the invite.
if anyone wants to learn some magic and perhaps to get an online lesson with me, you can always reach out to me through my website and my email as well.
Nice. Okay, great. And the website is, I don't have it right here, but the website is just mformagic.biz, right? So the website,
Yeah.
www.mformagic.biz. Let me just put that up. I guess, okay, the question, because we've got a couple of minutes left, but I've got one question which I'm keen to ask you, Ming. By the way, this is the website, right?
Yes, that's the
mformagic.biz.
website.
So
Yeah.
anybody watching at home, and there's a very impressive kind of gallery there. There's testimonials, there's press, there's awards, there's all sorts going on. So check out the website. It is fascinating. But the question that I want to end on, I guess, which is towards like the more general, I guess, state of the industry, which I know is obviously, like we just said, taking a bit of a hit right now. But in more general terms, and the reason I ask this is because I asked Andrew Lee the very same question, and he gave an interesting answer because to him especially, he's a big stage performer, and he is well aware of the importance, as of course I'm sure you are as well, having done so much corporate work. He is well aware of the importance of crafting a show, of a story. It's all about the audience. It's not just about the trick and about you, but it's about the emotion, the storytelling, and so on and so forth. So he had quite an interesting answer to this question. I'll explain why when you answer it. But what is your hope for the industry as a whole, in kind of in Singapore or regionally, maybe a little bit? Like, where is it that you want to see the industry moving towards as like a next step? What do you want to see next from up and coming magicians, from the public in what they're asking for? What do you want to see?
For the industry, I of course I hope that more magic will be seen on different platforms, whether it's social media, YouTube, mainstream platforms like TV, you know, we don't really growing up. I mean, for me at least, growing up, you don't really get to see a lot of Singapore magic on TV, and there was some, but you know, compared to singing, dancing, very little. So hopefully, moving forward, we have more people stepping up to perform at the big screen, maybe the TV, you know, maybe even movies. Very hard to say. And I think that right now, with such a vibrant community that we have people with different skill sets. We have younger magicians that are so well versed in the usage of social media and magic, and you know, they might be like a mini influencer themselves performing magic on social media, so good for them. And then you know, you have us that are working magicians, so it's a very good mix, and I think we just need to maintain what we have and improve on it.
Awesome. Well, I hope so too, and I think you're right. Like it, going back to even to the technology point, it doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing, AR, VR. It can just be about people really utilizing social media to its fullest extent. So I think, I'm looking forward to it too, and I'd like to see it. I mean, we've had the two big Hollywood films. We've had like Now You See Me 1 and 2, which people seem to like a lot, and and magic in a sense has always been there or thereabouts. But I think you're right. We need, and especially in this part of the world, more mainstream exposure would be very interesting to see. So let's hope it happens. But we'll have to wait and see, and that's, I guess, what's part of the magic itself. But anyway, that's what I wanted to get to, and so thank you very much for that. And more generally, Ming, thank you very much, because that is, I'm afraid, all the time that we have for this evening and for the session. So we'll have to call it there. But I just want to say, on behalf of ALYFE Group and everybody watching at home, thank you very much for coming on board, showing us some very impressive stuff, and giving us like a really valuable insight, I think, too. It's been a very interesting story and great having you. So thank you. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jacob. Thank you.
No, very much my pleasure. And like you've baffled me, which, so I'm happy. I'm going away happy, and I really hope the audience are doing too. So we're going to put your survey in the comments below. One final shout out, anybody who isn't yet, follow me on Instagram down below @MagicSNG. But mate, yes, thank you. So we'll say goodnight now, but you stay safe, take care. We hope that everything goes well for you guys down there in Singapore with the circuit breaker. We're kind of jealous that you're getting out of it a week earlier than we are now. But best of luck to you down there, and of course, all the very best of luck with your virtual shows. It sounds like a fascinating project you're working on, so all the best with that. We're confident that it'll do very well, and we look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ming. Good night. Good night. Take care. Well, there we have it, the wonderful Ming Da, and we are sure that there is much to come from this very, very interesting, entertaining, and insightful magician on the virtual circuit, not just the corporate one now. So all the very best of luck to Ming, of course. So that is all for day 1 of week 5. We are back, of course, tomorrow night. We have another full week's worth of sessions and schedules lined up for you. Tomorrow night, we are bringing back one of our previous guests to do something which he hasn't done before, which is to give a live music performance. We are welcoming back Serene Claire, our beauty queen and pageant princess, to give us a night of live music, which we are very much looking forward to. That's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So join us then. We'll see you there. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay indoors if you can, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.